A box arrives at my house real late at night. I had friends over, but at this point they've gone to their rooms fast asleep. It was so quiet, the night felt still. I open the front door and there it is, just an old antique wooden box, looks worn and used. I flip it open, find a few Game Boy cartridges from my past that I've owned. I find it weird and nostalgic, like I've owned this before. I run my fingers across the wooden frame and feel some kind of indentions at the bottom of the wooden box. I flip the box upside down and my name is carved on this thing. I go back in the house and set it on my dining room table. One of my friends is now awake and pierced through the shadowy hallway. He's got this presence about him that is just weird, like he is aware. We small chit-chat like, "Hey, what's up? What's going on? What you got there?" I said, "It's a wooden box with some old games of mine and it just arrived at my doorstep." I move around the table and grab a chair. He checks the oven and then closes it. He turns around and looks at the box, slowly moving closer to it. He then pulls up a seat and sits down across from me. He says that it looks magnificent and then gazed at me and asked me where I got it and what it meant to me. I told him I don't know, but it's familiar in a way. He grabs my wrist, almost breaking it, and pushes the box to the far right corner of the table and is saying how he never liked me. He despised me. He was jealous of everything I've ever done. He doesn't know how people like me. Then he lets go and walks around toward the box, sliding his finger down the table as he walks. I tell him that he's wrong and I'm not perfect and ask why the fuck he hates me so much. He then gives me the Stanley Kubrick stare and my heart sinks as I look at him. I can't believe his face and his presence just slowly changes to become more and more unsettling, less human. I was far too busy focusing on his uncanny facial expressions. I didn't notice he had a long, sharp kitchen knife in his hand until he then lunges at me and stabs me in the upper right part of my torso. He then pulls it out and stabs me again multiple times around my stomach with the biggest smile on his face. I yell and get up and pull away from him. He falls on top of the table and turns around to face me as I'm now behind him. I wrestle for the knife and knock it out of his hand and onto the floor. He drops down to grab it, and I step towards the kitchen to grab another knife. Blood dripping onto the carpet, and now onto the kitchen tile. As soon as I'm able to reach the knife, he's behind me, stabbing me repeatedly in the back over and over, and I turn around surprisingly and I collapse onto the carpet. He's on top of me as I'm struggling to fight back the stabs. He grabs his knife and tells me that he's going to fucking kill me cause I'm worthless and he's sick of seeing me succeed and get attention, and then points the knife towards the corner of my eye and starts to push. I push back with all the strength I have, and it looks like he's still winning. The knife is getting closer to my eye. I'm sweating. He's dripping sweat onto me and staring at me without blinking or loosing that demonic smile. The carpet is now soaked with my blood and the knife now is touching my skin on my face. It goes in and pierces my skin, slowly going into my face. Shocked by all this, I forgot I had taken a knife from the holder of my own. I can barely grip it with my right hand as I'm trying so hard to fight back with my left. Unfortunately, I'm losing and the knife is piercing my face. I then am able to get a grip on my knife and I bring it closer and stab him in the stomach over and over and stab him in the sides over and over, and he's taken aback and loses grip on his knife. He collapses backward into the drywall, sliding downward. I get up and tower over him. As he struggles to get up, I look at him and slice his neck. Deep wound, lots of blood pouring out, and at this point my girlfriend is now awake and at my side, but it's like she's been watching this whole time and I just snap back to reality. As he's bleeding out across the dining room table and making gargling sounds, I tell her to pass me the phone and I ask for some reason if I should even call 911. I ask if I would be going to jail cause of this, and I didn't want to. I wouldn't see her again and I'd be fucked, but this is the first time I've ever done anything like this and hurt anyone physically, so I was scared. I call 911 and pace around as the guy is still bleeding out on his knees, choking. They pick up and it sounds like they are celebrating Cinco de Mayo or something, cause in the background of the phone call I can hear people shouting and Mexican music playing, like a fucking party is happening. The woman on the phone's voice also sounds very chill and like she's almost a little drunk. She asks me what the emergency was, and as soon as I start to speak, the guy that has been bleeding out now just morphs into a cat. My cat. He morphs into my cat, and is simply just a cat, but now it seems like the cat is on its last legs, it's going to die. It freaks out and is now violently running around so fast, faster than I've ever seen my cat run, and is hopping and freaking out around my apartment, almost like a cat that has a bag on its head. He's not my cat. He looks like my cat, but is not. Can't be. He bleeds everywhere, blood splattering across the walls and ceilings, then proceeds to run out the door, hopping and spinning frantically into the night. I tell the women on the phone that my cat has been stabbed and is running around and I don't know what to do. She said something at that moment and I wasn't able to hear. The call disconnected and my cat had ran across the hall and back to my house. He ran back in and walked up to me, almost begging me to help. I kneeled down and grabbed a hold of him. He was squirming so much and making cat sounds as if in pain. It was traumatic and I had to hold him down so he would stop panicking. I looked at my girlfriend, and at this point we knew it was only a matter of time before my cat. I told her to hand me a towel. I throw it over the cat and press down to prevent them from trying so hard to move and injuring themselves further. Eventually they stop moving, and all I can feel is heavy breathing, and each breath was weaker than the last. The towel expanding and contracting less and less with each breath until the cat stopped breathing. I look over at the wooden box, and my vision starts to blur. The box gets farther away, pushing down the hallway. I can't believe this is real. I can't believe this just happened. I've lost so much blood at this point, I don't know how I'm still alive. I remember when I got my cat for the first time. How small she was. She was a mean cat, but still so sweet to me. She would come up to me and crawl in my lap every time I popped my favorite game in. She was a mean cat, but I collapse. The world around me fades to black while I look over and lay next to my dead cat, placing my hand over the drenched towel. And that's when I wake up from my dream.